Okay, so my name is Patricio Hernandez, and I am a Spanish teacher. And I will show you the materials I am using now in my elective course. As you can tell right here above, you can see the title is Passion of Multitude, Understanding Latin American Soccer Through Galeano's Eyes. The requirement for students to take this course is to complete Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3A, and Spanish 3B. And once they complete those courses, they are eligible to take among many of our offerings for electives, this one course. I'm going to go to topics so that I can start sharing some of the materials. So I'm going to start with the syllabus right here. I think it's a good idea to have an overall understanding of how the course has been mapped. I gave them a clear description, what is the text that we're using, grade distribution, and I think very important to consider that the final task instructions are clearly pointed out for them. And most importantly is the tentative schedule that they have for 6 weeks. This is a 2-module course. We are on the 2nd module, and we want them to finish as successful as possible. Considering that the text that we're using is an authentic text, it's a difficult text. And it's written by Eduardo Galeano, one of the greatest writers of Latin America, and most likely the most important critic, cultural critic of Latin America too. Therefore, the text itself, it's a difficult one. Therefore, if the text is difficult, what I do is that weekly, these are the materials for module number 2. These are the materials for module number 1, but we are past that. So we're in module number 2. Students can go to the different weeks. Let's say if a student is taking the class on week 3, we're in week 4, but let's say week 3, because it was a very interesting week, I'm selecting that. Therefore, they can open and they can get the reading already selected there for them. They can go to the actual book, or they can go to this PDF that provides for them the assigned reading for the day. And then they can follow up through an application called Linked. They can follow up with the homework, where they have to process and demonstrate comprehension of the material. The text, it's a global explanation of Latin American passion of soccer. So the complexity is right there. So I always want to make sure that they're writing, they're reading, but also they might have at least one exercise where they have to record themselves so they can practice verbal communication. So that's basically the assigned homework among many others, of course. But I also reinforce through videos, which I post for them on my CSW. These videos have been downloaded from YouTube and Vimeo, but yet transfer into MP4s because sometimes students don't have access to YouTube or to Vimeo, and therefore the MP4 version is always accessible. And it's essential to be able to comprehend better the text that we want to read. Also, additionally, I incorporate lessons that I create for my students. I try to make them as interactive as possible. Here I have a version that we can go over briefly since we need the time. And this here, let me go back. I think I'm way ahead. But basically, so the students might do, for example, here they watch a video, a 1-minute video, then immediately I went into an exercise where they have to match the image that appears on the left with the information that appears on the right side. And I go over each of the pictures and they have to share with me which one is the information that matches. And this actually promotes a really good conversation too. I also read to them. It's important. It's important that the students hear stories. So I read to them what I think is important to learn for the lesson. And then I give them questions. So they have to think. and they have to process ideas and they have to share them. I might read them a little more, and then I might tell them, do you agree with these statements? Or I might tell them, can you correct the mistakes? Or I might say, how about we go into breakout rooms and now you work these questions. So I'm not gonna continue because I want to show you more materials. And I also record those lessons precisely, and students can always return to these lessons and verify them. If they need to, if they missed a class, for example, they can use that and they can contact me too. But also, I think it's super important to keep the classes as interactive as possible. So I use applications like Kahoot. I use applications like Quizlet. And lately, I've been experimenting more with Padlet. And for example, we did this activity where they were able to get a better geographical conceptualization of stadiums and where players are from versus players where they are working at, and teams and associations and so on. But also they have a final project and they write their ideas, they take notes, and I can verify, have an idea of how that's going. And also, they can just simply answer questions. And I'm super impressed by how passionate themselves have been about answering some of the questions. With that in mind, I want to return to my, I think, one second. Okay. So that's basically my presentation for today. Now I am going to stop sharing my screen to share a recent quote from a CSW parent, and then pass the virtual mic to my colleague, Anjali, who will share a peek into her US Constitution class.